Hello, I'm Dr. Katherine Horton. I've got a couple of urgent updates to make. Actually, the very first one, this is really, really urgent. I meant to put out this video a very long time ago, actually, throughout last week, but I was so busy with other stuff I didn't actually get to make a video. So I was trying to tweet it to people, but today is the 25th of February, and at 1 o'clock today, in front of the BBC building, there will be a protest of victims who are trying to draw attention to the fact that, you know, first of all, victims exist, we are being assaulted by the intelligence agencies, and second of all, the fact that the media has been covering this up for decades. Maliciously covering up, I would like to add, because they are aware that this is going on, and they chose not to report about this. In my view, this is a criminal sabotage of the communication channels of a democracy. Personally, I think this is high treason against the nation, but there we are. So we have now the initiative of Stefanie van der Velde. She organized a protest and she put out a YouTube video that I tweeted, and I'll link it below. And you can have a look at her profile and her past videos and all that. But I'm so grateful because she actually put together this protest, and she also says this is not going to be the one and only protest. Or no, there will be a protest every 2 months on the last Saturday of the month. So now February, the next protest will be the last Saturday in April, and so on. And we'll continue having, every 2 months protests until they finally stop assaulting us and actually report about this. She also said that she's looking for people in America who can help her organize it in maybe the capital, so maybe in Washington or in anywhere else for that matter, in Los Angeles and in New York, anywhere, because we are being assaulted everywhere around the world, in every city of the world. So we have to stop this genocide against the good people in our society, and Stefanie is fighting all out. So please, please support her. Please, if you can make it to London, go and be there. Don't go just shopping on Oxford Street, buying yourself stuff you don't need. Please, don't just sit at home and watch DVDs and waste your time. This is real, people. This is actually happening. And it depends on you if we can actually turn this around or not. So I'm in Switzerland, I can't be in London today, but please, if you live in London, I know it's a hassle, especially on a weekend, the last thing you fancy is travel again into town, but this time it would be for good, a very good cause. Also, if you can't make it into London, then there are really a million ways you can help. You can, for example, tweet about the event, you can tweet live as the events are unfolding and so on. So I'm really hoping to hear something closer to the time. So that will be 2 p.m. my time here. And I'm really hoping that people send me messages of how it's going, maybe photographs outside the BBC. But the very, very important thing is that we really try to ram the door down at the BBC, not physically, but metaphorically speaking, because they have been essentially covering up genocide. That's essentially it. There have been death squads running in the UK, death squads killing English people, right? You have to take that in. Now, I'm not making this stuff up. There's a presentation by Professor Eric Karlström, with whom I've communicated about this, and he has gone through the documentation in very, very rigorous academic style, has analyzed everything, looked at declassified documents, and discovered that what we're dealing with is essentially a program that is based on the death squads, which have been run, by the CIA in Vietnam, in Latin America as well, and now they're running them at home. And as always, they are running them. It's the degenerates fight on the good people. And the degenerates are the people who are lying, murdering, ganging up on people and robbing their home and mutilating them and so on. No good person would ever do that. So we've got a situation where the degenerates in all our societies have now ganged up against the good people. The question is, will you stand up, please? That's what it actually is about. It's about stopping death squads in the UK. And if Stefanie can actually be heard by the BBC, then the BBC could really help us stop death squads around the world, if they would want to. But they have covered up horrific crimes in the past. I leave you to Google what things they have, you know, covered up. But I'm not actually claiming anything here that hasn't been already shown to be true. So even genocide against their own people is not beyond the BBC to cover up. So there we are. So please support Stefanie. I'm so grateful she's doing that. I think this is the right thing to do. Yes, we have to be in the face of the media, who has refused to report about it. I myself contacted Private Eye. I was in their offices. I was sitting in their offices for I think a total of half an hour trying to get through to them, and I couldn't. They refused to report about the mutilation. They refused to report about the complete subversion of the rule of law and perverting the course of justice by MI5 when I had my court case in 2016. They refused. They refused after that. I haven't heard a word from them. I also contacted The Guardian. The Guardian, I spoke with Luke Harding, who refuses to report about this. In fact, the way he spoke to me, I was convinced that he actually was using the triggers that I was set up to, you know, what I was harassed with when I was in the UK, which was repeated questions to your, what's your nationality? Quite an odd question these days when it's very international, but agents kept asking me everywhere, in the supermarket, you know, in the pharmacy, wherever I went, people said, oh, what's your nationality? And when I spoke to Luke Harding, the only question he had about, you know, about my case, when I told him, hey, you know, Luke, we met at the Berezovsky versus Abramovich case, do you remember? Because we sat next to each other for about, you know, weeks. Any recollection? Guess what happened to me? I'm being mutilated to death by MI5 and have been harassed ever since that court case. Do you care? Do you actually care? The answer was no. The only question he cared about is, what nationality are you? And, you know, through the phone, I could have sworn I could hear a grin. So, you know, I mean, that's what we're dealing with here. This is The Guardian, right? Private Eye, I have tried myself. And now Stefanie is trying the BBC. And, you know, if you like, The Guardian and Private Eye are private companies, but the BBC does have, you know, an actual charter. So when the BBC is covering up genocide and death squads in the UK, then, you know, this is a different can of fish here. So thank you, Stefanie, for doing that. I really support you all the way. I think this is a very, 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 very good thing. But what I wanted to drill home to all of you lot, right? If you're watching this, if it's already past the date, if you see this video way after the event, don't just sit back and say, oh, well, you know, today is whatever, the 30th of March. Oh, well, I missed that. No. What you do is you write to the BBC. Literally just go to bbc.co.uk, look up their contact and send a message and say, hey, have you reported about this yet? Are you going to report about this? Aren't you covering up genocide? Aren't you covering up death squads in the UK? Run by English people on English people? Is that newsworthy? And then pick your most piffling article that they put out that day and say, is this maybe more important than that? So if you've got space on your website, space, as if HTML, you know, would give you restrictions in space. But anyway, you know, if you've got space on your website for that, how about having space on your website for death squads run by MI5 against the English people? Anybody cares? So even if you watch this video way past the deadline, you know, email them. You can also, once you've written an email, you can just, you know, send it to The Guardian as well. Send it to Private Eye, The Independent, The Telegraph, The Times. None of them have reported about this. None. Not one. Not even the Daily Mail. You know, nothing. It's utter silence. So this is what you can do. Now, even if you go to the protest today, what I want you to do, and I want you to understand that everything that we're doing now is we're cycling the system. It's not just, it's like so much more. We're cycling our way of thinking. So in the olden days, you would have, you know, maybe if you were really good, you would have gone to the protest and supported Stefanie. Now in the 21st century, that's just not good enough. If you take part in something, you have to add something. You have to bring your own creativity and your own, you know, ideas and add. So Stefanie already did an amazing amount of work by putting this together, having the idea, yes, a protest in front of the BBC, organizing it, putting out messages, getting friends together to actually go with her and kick this off. Now you have to come in and add to that. How can you add? Well, if you go and add your physical presence in the protest, that's already a good thing, but that's what people did in the 20th century. So how can you add more? Well, you can go, and before you go, you can tweet that you're going and ask other people saying, hey, I don't really want to be standing there on my own. Can you come with me? And then afterwards we can go and do shopping in Oxford Street, right, if you must. That's what you can do as well. So add to it, you know, don't just, you know, do the 20th century thing, do the 21st century thing. And then if you're really creative, you could think, hang on, what the BBC is not doing is spreading the news about genocide in the UK, about targeted murder in the UK. They are, you know, this is what they're essentially covering up. So given that the BBC is not doing it, maybe it means we have to do the work of the BBC. Well, what does the BBC do? Well, it just broadcasts to random people that this is what they would do, to random people that this is going on. Well, if they don't do it, you have to do it. So why don't you broadcast it to random people on your way to the protest? Now, I know talking to strangers is a real pain, and you're in a rush. You can't just, you know, stop in the queues, you know, as these like masses are just pouring down into the tube. You know, you can't just stop for conversation about, you know, crimes committed by MI5 and other intelligence agencies around the world. I know that's challenging. But what you can do is, for example, just print out, you know, I don't know, a link to a website or a YouTube video that really explains it very well, in your view, what's going on. Or you just write, you know, something on little cards. You can, with copy and paste jobs, you can open a Word document, right, partition it into 12 or 24 sides. And then with copy and paste, you can put the same message in every single one of those little fields, print it off, cut it up, and take it along and just give people pieces of paper on the way to the protest and say, hey, I think you should know about this. Hey, don't lose this. You know, go on, type it into your phone, look up this web address and find out what's going on. Okay? So there's a million things you can do. And this is just what I, you know, can think of on my feet. But what I really want you to do is for you to actually unleash your creativity and add to it. So take what Stefanie has started and add to it, so that bit by bit we can actually get further. And what we're really looking for is this amplification effect, okay? So every single time there's a good idea, add to it. Please add to it. And we don't just want one good idea. We want to try a million things, a million different things. And ahead of time, we don't know what works and what doesn't. So please, 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 try everything. Everything you can think about. You know, you can go and, I don't know, also call into radio shows and say, hey, by the way, I'm currently here at this protest. I think you should really, you know, report about this. And there's many, many ways to get yourself into the media, even sneak past their censorship and actually get this message out. So please, you know, have this as an exercise in creativity. Don't just sit at home staring at the TV. That would be just the saddest thing to do. Meanwhile, your country actually needs you. Other people like you need you urgently to help them. So today you can actually meet some of the victims. If you just go to London, they are totally normal people. They aren't kooks, they aren't mad. If you find really mad people, I tell you one thing, those are the agents from MI5. Guaranteed. Because so far, when I talk to victims, I've never found a genuine victim who was actually mad. They are all people of very high integrity, and they are basically their life is being mutilated by complete thugs because they want something from them. They use their body for experimentation, and they're very healthy, so the medical industry wants to mutilate a healthy body, you know, and stuff like that. Or they have very high integrity, or their business competitor wants them removed and put them on a blacklist. All these things play into it. But this has nothing to do with the victims. Do you understand? The victims will be like you and me. Well, I am a victim, so they're certainly like me. But they are like everybody else because they have picked pretty much at random. In fact, I've got this strong gut feeling, which I've also uttered publicly, that there's an actual program of taking out the most valuable people in our society to make our societies implode and leave us helpless. On the Richie Allen show, I mentioned what I call the cull of the prodigies, you know, math prodigies just dying randomly in large numbers. That's not normal. So what you actually find amongst the victims is people of very high integrity, very smart, very funny people, very, very clever. And if they survive this death camp program this long, they also have an inner strength that you will find inspiring. So please, that's the London protest. I put out this video ludicrously late, and I'll tell you in another video what I've been doing. This is not an excuse. I'm not I'm trying to, I don't know, not support Stefanie. No, I was really busy, and all I could do was tweet last week. But please, and if you miss this, if you get this video too late, this is just the beginning. Do you understand? So even after the protest, when you go home, your work isn't finished, then you barrage the BBC, and then you complain about why have they not reported about the fact that you actually got your ass all the way in front of their building to get their attention, and they ignored you. Do you understand? And then you can also email to the Private Eye, to the Independent, the Guardian, and say, hey, we protested in front of the BBC and the BBC ignored us. Do you care? And so on. So your work is not done. The protest is essentially the first, domino being tipped, and now you have to make sure that more and more dominoes are being knocked over. Okay, so go along. If you can't go along, support them. You can do it over Twitter. You can do it literally from your computer or just having your phone on you. You can already take part. And whilst they are there, you can already barrage the BBC. At 1 o'clock, I will do everything. I'm not sure if they've got a phone number and if they're there on the weekend, but if they're answering it on the weekend, because journalists, I think, in the BBC are there on Saturdays as well. But I will do my best to actually contact them and draw attention to the fact that this is serious. And I ask you to also back me up with this. So this is one thing. The second announcement, which is equally urgent, it is that we had several attempts on our life in the very recent past, and essentially the women I'm working with, we are so concerned for each other that essentially we put each other on an assassination watch. You probably heard about suicide watch, when you're people in jail and and so on. But this is not suicide watch. None of us are suicidal. This is assassination watch. We essentially don't know from one day to the next if we're going to be around. And because of that, I have now on my website put up a life sign monitor. And the way it works, this life sign monitor, if you go to my website, stop007.org, and you scroll down on the right hand side, so essentially the organization of the site, so that you can navigate, is that the most obvious, the first thing people should know is at the top, and then the further down you get, it gets more and more advanced. The columns are organized that the very first one is always about the victims, right? About actually what is happening to us, the frequently asked questions, my victim story, other victims, and so on. That's the first column, and all the victims who've been murdered. The middle column is the perpetrators. How is this possible? What are they doing to women? Who are the criminals? And the Nazi hunt that we're now starting against these Nazis. The third column is about help and what to do. It's about concrete steps of how you can help, who are our fighters, who is fighting this. And now the third column, I introduced the second one down. So the first one is how you can help us, and a list of many things that you can do, not just donate money, but also stuff that's for free. Then who are our fighters? There's a brief introduction to everybody who is now key to this that I'm working on. And below that, it's called the life sign monitor. Okay, I called it the life sign monitor from the war zone because this is a war zone. I am under military, assault essentially. And, and what you can do, and I'm sorry because I didn't have time to actually do it properly and quickly. So the idea is, yes, I should say, if you click on that website, please make it as large as possible, because I realized with certain browser formats, the scroll bar doesn't extend, and I kind of did like a dirty hack to, expand the table out from the actual rigid corset that the WordPress template allowed me to do. It's a really dirty hack, and anybody who actually programs websites probably just thinks like, oh my god, But anyway, I just did it that way to just, do it quickly. And you have to make the browser, if you maximize it in your window, then you will see a scroll bar, and the scroll bar should go all the way from the date on the right, all the way to the last person in the list, which is alphabetic, and the last person listed is Melanie Richan, a victim in Belgium. And what this site is, the Life Sign Monitor, you can check it out now. Go to stop007.org. On the right hand side, scroll down until you see the Life Sign Monitor, click on it, and then what you see is a brief description of what I'm about to tell you. And then below you can see the listing of victims, okay? And the entire idea behind this is that you can bookmark this this site. You know, you can just drag and drop the URL into your just below the URL line. You know, on Firefox that will automatically put a bookmark, and then every day you can just click on that bookmark and check up on how we're doing. The idea is that every one of us, I mean, this is just starting up, so there's small delays still, but I've been in touch with all of these ladies, so I know that right now, as I'm speaking on the 25th of February, they are doing fine. But the idea is that they are going to check in every day and send a life sign, which gets updated onto this website. Sorry, I'm just being hit in the head just as I speak. It's so hard because you don't see it, but from a neighbor who is essentially to the northwest from me, I'm being essentially shot in the head as I'm making my videos. But anyway, that aside. So what you see on this website is essentially our names, and then, you know, some details about us and our check-in time. Some people are, so Melanie's in Belgium, I'm here in Switzerland, and some of the other ladies are in the US. So this is pretty much all around the world, and they all have a check-in time. And they have to send me a life sign, you know, that gets updated to this website by that check-in time. Should I not receive a life sign by then, you know, essentially what it will show on the website is failed to check in. And then if within 12 hours of their failure to check in, they still haven't, so I immediately send an email reminder. But should they not check in within 12 hours, essentially an alert is raised, and then someone who has their personal contact, so we spread personal contacts around, so ideally phone lines can't be sabotaged, and then people who actually are in close contact with this person will be alerted to actually get in touch with them by phone if that's possible, and if it's not possible, to go and check up on them physically. And unfortunately this is what we have to do, because really I think pretty much everybody who's on that list had at least one assassination attempt, at least one, you know, because they don't just stop after one. And this is serious, people. What I really encourage you to do is to actually bookmark that page, as I said, and if you could, you know, just click on this in your lunch break, just click on the website, and for every day you can just see that we all checked in, and we also say what has been done to us that day. Okay, so you can actually see live. This is real, people. You can see live what the intelligence agencies are doing to normal women. You can actually see it. And the people who are there, none of them were activists or, you know, wanted to overthrow the government or anything like that. We were all normal women. Every single one of us. As you know, I'm a high energy physicist, and I wanted to start a business, and I'm trying to start my second business. And I've been sabotaged to the ground, you know. Melanie Richan, she was, you know, a young mother, and her life has been destroyed. Ramola is a mother, and her life is being destroyed. Karen worked for the NSA, and she essentially, all she did is request an investigation when another woman was credited with her work and got a double promotion based on Karen's work. And all she did is say, could you please investigate if that's actually the case? And the people went nuts and started essentially stalking her, intimidating her, and eventually it exploded into electromagnetic harassment. So this is just how degenerate the intelligence agencies are. They are totally degenerate. The heads of the intelligence agencies are either the degenerates themselves or totally incompetent. That's the sad truth. We have our own intelligence agencies running around like death squads, essentially assaulting women. Women. The most dangerous thing in human history have always been the women, right? Especially young mothers. They are so dangerous that the intelligence agencies need to send death squads, right? So this is what we're essentially dealing with. So you can see the life sign monitor there, and please do check it every day. This is absolutely serious. And also there's a button, I suggest you check the actual bio of every single one of these women, right? And you decide. All of them have got a donation button. All of them are essentially fighting for their life. And all of them, certainly myself, they have destroyed 2 business attempts of mine. By now I am getting destitute. So please, if you want us to be able to fight for you, you have to invest in us. And you really have to think like that yes, we are all paying taxes, that is true, but our taxes are essentially being mismanaged. So unfortunately, we have to pay a bit more to make the world better. Do you understand? You have to pay more now, but in a way that you decide where your money goes, you decide who you support, and I really suggest that you support individuals, not organizations, support individuals. Those individuals who you checked out, you did due diligence, you trust them, you like their work, support them. So please check it out. All of these women are fighting. Melanie, for example, founded ICATOR, a human rights organization fighting against the mutilation of people by the intelligence agencies with electromagnetic weapons, right? Then also we have Karen, essentially. She is fighting to stop the microwave mutilation that she herself is experiencing, and you can see her daily reports on the website. And she's also fighting for other victims, tooth and claw, because she can see just how many more people are being essentially assaulted. Ramola, on the other hand, she's got a website. She's a brilliant author. I think her reports are some of the most outstanding and most topical, certainly much more topical than the vast majority of articles in The Guardian. So please do check her out. Her website is everydayconcerned.net. So the Everyday Concerned Citizen is her entry. You can find that online. I also linked that. And just go through the entire list. There will be more people coming. There's also, oh yes, sorry, I forgot, Roseanne. She was an entrepreneur. She had 2 businesses destroyed. So you can also, look through that. And every single one of us has got it's the hit list and the blacklist, and that has not been updated yet. But what it essentially is, the blacklist is the people who are responsible for us being mutilated, because some of us actually do know who is responsible. The heads of the intelligence agencies of that country are certainly responsible, so all of them are automatically on the blacklist. So the heads of the CIA, MI5, the Swiss intelligence agency, the BND, and the Belgian intelligence agencies are all automatically guilty. The hit list will contain all the people who we are now targeting for help. These are the people we are approaching to actually, we hit on them. So it's not the hit list in the we're going to murder them. No. It's much the opposite. We actually want to recruit them and ask for their help. And the idea is that should anything happen to us, you can immediately click on the blacklist and see who is responsible. In a sense, you have the guilty party for the murder already there. And all the people who essentially were Nazi collaborators and refused help are listed. The hit list, on the other hand, are the people we are desperately contacting now, after we were let down by the people on the blacklist. And then if you really want to find out how you can help us, you can add your voice to the actual people on the hit list. So anyway, this video is long enough. These are the 2 really urgent updates that you need to hear. And please support Stefanie, and please keep an eye on us through the Life Sign Monitor. Thank you very, very much.